Joining me now is the UKIP MP Douglas Carswell and for the Conservatives Damien Green. Welcome to both of you. Douglas Carswell, I'll begin with you. The wording of the Queen's speech says the purpose of the bill on the referendum is to give the British people a voice and a real choice on Europe. Does it go far enough for you?
I think it's wonderful. For the first time in a generation, there's a majority in Parliament willing to give us the chance to vote to leave. Responsibility now falls to people like me to make sure that we can convince a majority to vote to leave. I'm not going to pick fights with the government on this. They're doing the right thing, and I will be supporting that legislation. There are one or two other things I'll be supporting, but UKIP's also going to be opposing the government where we genuinely think it's got things wrong. And there are plenty of things in the Queen's speech that I think they may have got wrong.
How difficult is it going to be to convince people on this, though? It's a big question, the issue of Europe. Many people find it hard to understand the intricacies of it.
Of course, it's a very big issue, and I think it's really important that people like me remember, I know which way I'm going to vote, but a lot of people are undecided, and the way we win the referendum is to get the majority of people, particularly the undecideds, to convince them that if we vote to leave, we get a better kind of Britain, we join the world, we become an open global player, we're not just trapped into a little sort of Brussels backwater.
Damien Green, the same question to you. How are you going to convince people to stay in Europe, because that's what you'd like to see?
Well, most people are inclined to do so already. I hope people, I agree with Douglas welcoming the fact of the referendum. I think it's time that the British people pronounced on this.
An interesting unanimity, but I guess it will diverge from there.
It will diverge, absolutely. All those who said that, oh, you can't trust David Cameron, he won't deliver this referendum, he is delivering it, and people should remember that. But you're right, the argument will now go on until the referendum. I think what Douglas just said, that Britain can rejoin the world, is a nonsense. We're a stronger voice in the world as part of the wider European Union, and being able to trade freely with Germany and France doesn't make it more difficult for us to trade freely with China and India.
How are you going to work, though, for a more economically liberal EU? I mean, is it right to do that from within side? Is that the only way to do it?
It's not just good for us, it is the right thing to do, and it's good for Britain, but it's also good for the rest of Europe as well. And I was struck by actually the wording of the Queen's speech, which was that this would be in the interests of the member states of the EU. And that's exactly the tone we should operate, that we should be positive. This is not just good for Britain, which it is, but it's also good for Europe as well.
Douglas Carswell, you want to come in?
Being economically liberal, one thing in the Queen's speech that did trouble me was this idea of an energy quango, presumably there to enforce Brussels regulation on energy. I think one of the reasons why the economy is struggling is because we've priced ourselves out of the markets because of a ridiculous EU energy policy. I think we need to challenge things like that and make the case for economic liberalism and free markets.
But UKIP, of course, focusing on immigration, but organisations like the CBI say that 63% of their members think it's a positive thing, that it works for them, free movement of labour.
The CBI was in favour of us joining the Euro 15 years ago. There are other business organisations and indeed businessmen like James Dyson, like Bamford, like Business for Britain, who are coming out to say that actually British business could thrive and prosper outside the EU. If we had our own energy policy, free from the stifling hand of Brussels, we could compete again. Manufacturing industry could compete again. We're better off out economically, and I think that's a case.
A final word from you, Damien Green.
It's not just the CBI, which has 190,000 members, not one or two. It's the Engineering Employers Federation, people at the heart of British manufacturing. All aspects of British business say we're better off in the EU.
Well, lobbyists tend to prefer this, but the actual manufacturers don't.
No, they don't. It's the companies themselves are saying it.
Gentlemen, we are out of time, but the argument starts here and continues. Damien Green, Douglas Carswell, thank you very much.